It's here, Check TV, a WIC television company.
Hi, I'm Judy Tyabji. Thanks for joining us today as we look at education. You know, it's interesting. Next week, our provincial legislature turns 100 years old, and they're having a big celebration. But you never hear anybody say, there's no money for the cake, there's no money for the plaques, there's no money for the celebration. The federal government canceled a helicopter deal, and it cost us $500 million. And they did it because they said they promised they would do that. But nobody ever says we can't afford a $500 million lawsuit. There's always money for lawyers. When it comes to things like our public education system, though, we've seen government after government cutting away at basic funding for programs. And they keep telling the school districts, it's your problem, you deal with it. And yet the money never seems to be enough to go around. And as a result, our children aren't having access to basic programs anymore. Now, there are many issues in the education system. Today we're asking the question, should the corporations be allowed to pick up the slack? My opinion is absolutely not. It's a slippery slope. If the government isn't living up to their obligations, let's take aim at the government. And let's leave the corporations out, free to negotiate with individual schools if they like to, free to help out with an odd project or two, but certainly not in a position to pick up funding for basic programs. Now, that's my opinion. We'd like to hear yours, and we have two people joining us to talk about this. We'll take your calls to this number right now. We have two guests with us. Derek Chow is the Saanich School Board Chair, and Jack Fleming is the Superintendent of Schools for this district. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us, Judy.
Now, I put out a very strong opinion, and you guys don't have to agree, disagree, or whatever, but you are putting on a forum tonight, which
Yes.
I'll actually be at. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yes, we are putting on a forum at Parkland School, and the purpose of the forum is to find out from our electorate to what extent, under what conditions, should the school district accept funding for its programs from the private sector.
Now, as we'll show later on in the show, you actually put out three options. You're trying to bring everybody in, and whether it's parents or teachers or people from the community. How did you get to that point, though? I mean, you're not one of those school districts. You should tell people you haven't been running a deficit.
No, the Saanich School District has never run a deficit, or we will run a deficit. What we're looking at is alternative ways of funding other than government funding. Over the last 7 years, we've cut our budget, we've cut programs, and the time has come that we have to look alternative funding. Just look around. The school parents last week held a meeting in regards to funding and cutting programs. The Times columnist had a book drive to assist the school districts in the area for books. So we're in a situation now that the public is also aware of the needs of the school.
Right. I want to bring you into this too, Jack. Now, we had a meeting last week. I should let people know I'm actually the moderator at the forum today, so I have to sort of keep on top of the issues. But, you made a comment that actually really struck home last week, where you said that you've seen a lot of changes to the education system, and really 20 years ago you wouldn't have imagined that we'd be at the point where we're having this discussion.
Well, that's true, Judy. It's hard for me to believe that we are. I think the prime reason the board is having this discussion is, as I think your calls will show later in the show, opinion is really divided on this issue.
Right.
And it's not easy for the school board or for me in helping them formulate policy, know how best to approach this subject. So this board is, I think, got a very open mind on this issue.
Right. They're waiting for the community to drive.
If the government waved a magic wand next week and produced some additional revenue for us so we could restore some of the cuts or avoid making further cuts, I think that probably this issue would not be as high on our agenda as it is.
Right.
But without that kind of assurance, which we haven't received, the board is doing what I think is a responsible thing. It's considering all of its options and trying to consult its community.
Right, and I'm sure that people will have a lot to say on this. And as I say, I think it's important. This is sort of a test run for tonight. We'll try to get as many opinions on the table as we can. We'll go to the phones?
Yes.
Okay, great, and we'll develop this as we go. Let's talk to Cindy first from Vancouver. Hi, Cindy.
Hi. I don't think that we should let them take over any of the funding for the schools, because you don't get anything for nothing these days.
Right.
What I do think the government should do is stop giving them as many tax breaks or as big tax breaks, and maybe there will be more money in the coffers for education and programs for our kids.
So you think it should be to the government then?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we appointed them for, to take care of these things. And right now, all the BS that's going on with the education, and the education minister not even being present or being available for comment when all that stuff was going on in the Souk region.
Right.
I mean, come on. You know, what are they getting paid for? And they are getting paid, you know,
right. Okay.
without paying taxes for now, anyway.
Okay.
So,
okay. Well, thank you for that. Now, you had mentioned as well that you've been told that if the BC teachers contract, which is up for negotiation right now, if that includes more money for the teachers, the government has said that they'll cover that. Is that correct?
They've given us some assurance.
Some
Judy.
assurance.
Yes. The best evidence we have is that there is an increase planned in the last contract that is to take effect March 1st, and we've been advised the government will provide us additional funding to cover that increase. So,
how does that make you feel, though, if you know they're going to cover an increase in teacher salaries, and I'm saying that they obviously should. They shouldn't pass that on to you if they're negotiating that. But you've got increased cost of programs, you've got a certain per capita funding per student, and it's more or less locked in.
It is. In fact, Judy, you may be interested in knowing that we have similar increases in the CUPE contracts, which are provided for under the BC PC guidelines, BC PC being our employers association. The government does not fund those.
Okay.
So we're expected to find those
for janitors and for people who do
custodians,
maintenance
people, teacher aides.
Okay. We have to take a break, and we'll be back, and we're going to take more of your calls, and if you're trying to get through, just let it ring. We'll get to you as soon as we can, and we'll be right back.
MeTV has captured everyone.
It's science fiction for me.
Even rebels have surrendered.
For me, it's nice family shows.
And now you can join the MeTV family and save money on the TV you love to watch. Just order MeTV before March 1st at our introductory rate. You'll get all 16 new channels and you'll save $24 over a year.
For me, it's comedy.
But this offer is no joke, so call 1-888-ROGERS-1 to get MeTV and save all year.
Sometimes you just get more than you bargained for.
I think it's stuck in the drain.
Well, let's take a look.
Oh, that's right. I almost forgot. Value Village is having a full moon sale this Saturday. All pants are half off.
Join Value Village for their big full moon sale on Saturday, February 7th. All pants plus everything else in the store are half off. That's right. Save 50% on everything all day Saturday.
Sunday, February 8th is Ladies' Day at Fraser Downs, sponsored by the Bay. For the ladies, free admission, gift packs, and 2 $1,000 Bay shopping sprees to be won. See ads in the Province Sports Thursday and Friday, February 5th and 6th for details. Fraser Downs, Canada's newest 5/8-mile track.
The Make-A-Wish Foundation of Canada makes wishes come true for children with life-threatening illnesses. Tara's wish was that her dog Boomer appear in a national television commercial. WIC is a corporate parent to this and 20 other television and radio stations across Canada. We support the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Like you, we care about this community. So anyway, this is Boomer, and this is Tara, and this is a wish come true.
And we're talking about whether or not corporations should pick up the slack in the school district. We all know a lot of school districts are under pressure. And we'll start with talking to Jen in Souk. And I understand you're 15 years old?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I just like to say, we just got a new school in last September, I guess, like a year ago.
Right.
And we already have a portable there, and I think that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, and the classes are like 30, 35 people.
Right.
And I just think it's really stupid that we should have like a new school and already a portable.
Now, how do you feel as a student if you saw sort of corporate sponsorship appearing in the schools? What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not really into politics and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I don't know too much about that.
Well, thanks very much for phoning in then, Jen.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I hear that all the time. They build brand new schools and then there are portables within a year. In fact, there was one, I think, in Surrey where there was the equivalent in portables within a year, equivalent size.
due to the enrollment. That's due to the increase in enrollment. And of course, the provincial government has a capital budget.
Right.
And it's only so much money. So when they allocate the money, we always hear they can't see the white of the eyes unless they see the students there first. They don't lot the money to build a school.
But can't they project it? Can't they say, okay, this has been the rate of growth for the last few years and it's been increasing at this rate?
You don't go with that.
Yeah, well, they can, Judy, but having some familiarity with the districts on the Lower Mainland, and particularly in rapidly growing districts, they can get caught short because a municipality might open a big area for development.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, by the time the school board knows that development's going to take place, it's a year away, and the kids are starting to move into the houses.
Right. I know this sounds really radical, but they could phone the city planner.
Well, they do. They do talk, but I think that in those rapidly growing districts, municipalities, there's a lot of controversy, and the plans change as things unfold.
Yeah, it must be hard for the students sometimes. Yeah. Let's talk to Randy in White Rock. Hi, Randy.
Yeah, hi, Judy. I'm just phoning to do with the schooling, and I believe that a lot of it to do is with the immigration. The government is bringing all these immigrants in, and our schools can't handle the load, and they don't want to seem to cough up and build more schools for them.
So on the one hand, they might have an incentive for people to move here, but when they get here, they don't have plans for them.
That's true, and my kids are feeling the effect of it. The schools are constantly asking for money and volunteers, and I think it's just a way for the government to get out of it.
Right. And so how do you feel about corporate funding?
I think it's up to the government.
Okay. Well, all right, good.
I mean, we're paying enough taxes the way it is.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for that. What about the government giving you direction on that even?
But the mere fact that our school district is looking at an alternative option of corporate sponsorship, the government's aware of that, and the public's aware of that, so that they're going to be questioned about how much funding are you giving the schools. The last two callers talk about portables in schools. We're talking about the operation funding, not the capital funding, the classroom funding,
capital
which is
funding
different.
is to build things.
Right, two separate issues here, two separate pots of money.
Right.
We're talking about the learning resources and the money needed to teach students in the classroom.
Well, give me an idea about what operational funding pays for then. It's what, math, English, French?
95% of our operating budget, Judy, is salaries.
Okay.
Salaries of teachers, of teacher aides, maintenance people, custodians, and so on.
Okay.
So this means that only 5% of it is, the rest of it is for resources of one sort and another.
And when you look for corporate funding, you're looking for corporate funding of the operational money?
That's right.
So to help subsidize the salaries and the costs.
Exactly. We've been having to cut back on numbers of teachers. Our classes are growing up to very close to the contractual limits. We're having to cut back on teacher aides, librarians, counseling services.
Special needs assistants.
Special needs assistants and so on.
All right, let's talk to Peter in Saanich. Now, Peter, you're a teacher.
Yes, I am.
Okay, why don't you give us your perspective?
I've taught in Saanich for 21 years and worked for the two gentlemen that you have with you in the studio. And the Saanich School Board has been gracious enough over the last 4 or 5 years to allow me to build a climbing wall in our district that is open to the public. And if it were not for corporate donations of material, money, etc., that facility and the new facility that we're currently working on would not exist. And it has a value of in the neighborhood of $250,000.
Wow.
And it will benefit and affect the lives of kids for decades to come. And
in a case like that, how important do you think it is? Is this for extracurricular activities or for phys ed class?
There's a real range. I incorporate it into my PE class, but there are schools, for example, Mackenzie Elementary School bring a behavior mod class to it. Kids sometimes who haven't enjoyed a lot of success in school nor in life, and it's a tremendous esteem building activity. It's the reason that we have kids at Stelly staying in school. So if we can use that hook to keep kids in school, further their education, then it's well worth it. And the government won't pay for it because they see it as an extra, and probably it is.
Okay.
But again, if it wasn't for the corporations, it wouldn't exist, and that would be a real shame.
Okay, so what you're saying is that this is a really good idea for the corporations to come forward in this case.
Well, I'm speaking on their behalf. They really are some wonderful people and very generous.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Now, I have to say, in my observations, I have no problem with something that's an extra, an enhancement. But is that what you're talking about, just enhancements when you talk at the forum tonight?
We're going beyond that. As you mentioned, Judy, is 3 options how we're going to enter into partnerships. And we're looking at beyond the 1 or 2 programs where we wanted something to sustain for 5 or 10 years.
Where you might say, you know, like 20% of our operational budget from now on, we have to go out and fundraise from the corporations.
Well, it's a high number for us when we're not doing any, Judy.
Okay.
But I think Peter's example, I think it's important we can take advantage of that example to point out that right now our communities support our schools tremendously. Our parents raise a tremendous amount of money right now and provide it to schools. Local business work hard with schools to provide goods and services and opportunities for our students. And we're not trying to interfere with that. This is a different kind of question now.
Yeah, at a district level.
Right.
We're going to show people now a little bit of a background on some of the education protests that have gone on, some of the comments that have been made from students. Let's take a look.
It's a shame education is tangled in politics.
Controversy over provincial government cuts has been growing over the past few years as many programs such as fine arts and band are threatened. Librarians and counselors face layoffs, and even janitors' hours are cut back. Last spring, the chair of the Provincial School Trustees Association urged the government to provide more funding to education so that basic programs would not be threatened.
To ask any school board in any community to waive fine arts programs to clean schools and janitors is not possible.
Without more funding from the provincial government, pressure mounts on some school districts to go to the corporate community to pick up the slack. And during the protests, these students tried to strike a chord with the Ministry of Education.
Do you think that this will help?
Yeah, if like the government can see us and then they can see how important it is to people.
We're going to take another call, and we'll talk to Barry in Vancouver. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Judy. Judy, I disagree with you because not all corporations are tobacco companies, and of course, we don't want tobacco companies supporting our education system, but there are a lot of corporations, and I represent a corporation that would like to help my kids. They're in. I got 2 in high school.
Right.
I would like to help, a situation, and the situation is that music. I mean, you could say that music. Band. We raised money to buy equipment for the band, okay?
Right.
And I know that the 2 gentlemen want more corporations. The corporations did not cause the deterioration in our school system, but we do have a situation that I think is a crisis. And there are corporations willing to help, even if it's on a temporary basis.
In your case, would there be strings attached to the help? Would you be saying that, okay, our corporation will help provided you sew the logo onto your bags or something?
Absolutely no strings attached whatsoever.
Okay, so it'd be a straight donation. So you'd even be prepared, for example, to do an anonymous donation?
I don't think we want to go as far as anonymous. It would be like we are on a list of, it's almost like you're contributing to a political campaign where it's listed that ABC Corporation donated 10,000, CBS 5,000. Like the list is published so that we can get a tax write-off on it. But the situation is, it would be ideal as to what you're saying, that it should be the government's responsibility. But we got a situation where the government is off on all kinds of tangents with $250 million to save some pulp mills and spending money where I may agree that it shouldn't be spent, okay?
Right. So you think that there's a crisis and you want to be able to be there to pick up the slack in the short term?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me just let the guests respond to that.
I'd like to pick up on the logos you were mentioning about, if you go into any school gymnasium in the area, there are signs up there acknowledging support by local businesses for the sports teams, and they're already there in the gymnasium. That's up to the schools. They have, they get donations from local businesses.
So if you did it at a district level, the difference would be every school in that district would carry like a Nike logo in the gym if that became the...
Well, it could, Judy. There's a range of options, which we'll probably get into later in the show, but it might involve advertising, it might involve logos, corporate identity, or corporate recognition. All of these things have to be thought of.
Okay, we're going to continue this debate after a break.
Tyabji is brought to you in part by Metro Lexus Toyota, leaders in customer satisfaction.
Every 2 hours, another person in BC dies from smoking. Most of them started as kids. In fact, 85% of smokers start before their 16th birthday. and half of them eventually die from it.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
The tobacco industry must stop targeting children to break the cycle of ashes to ashes. The BC Ministry of Health.
Once a year for one day, United Carpet makes it even easier to buy floor coverings. It's United Carpet's Crazy Carpet Caper. Save on every floor covering in the store. This is the biggest carpet sales event of the year. Doors open at 6 a.m. on Saturday, February 7th. Huge savings on absolutely everything in the store. 6 months are as good as cash. Get Air Miles travel miles. Come see this special. United Carpet's Crazy Carpet Caper, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. only on Saturday, February 7th.
United Carpet, we've got personality.
This Saturday and Sunday, come on into Rutherford Mall in Nanaimo and help feed the hungry pets at the SPCA. Bring in a can of cat or dog food and you can have a free goat and cart ride. You can also enter your pets in some exciting contests. It only costs $1, and all the money raised goes towards buying a talking computer for a visually impaired woman who relies upon a guide dog. So come on into Rutherford Mall this weekend. There's tons to do, and if you come Saturday between 1 and 3, me and my friends will be there.
It could be the breathtaking beach, or the elegant dining, or maybe the cozy log cottages. In any case, discover the difference at Tyabji Resort Hotel in Parksville. The romance, the pampering, the luxury and nature you owe yourself. Your weekend getaway at Tyabji is affordably priced. Tyabji Resort Hotel in Parksville on Vancouver Island. Call toll-free 1-800-663-7373 and discover the difference.
And we're talking about corporate schools. Our guests are Derek Chow, he's the Senate School Board Chair, and Jack Fleming is a Superintendent of Schools. I just want to make a point of clarification. We were talking during the break. We're not talking, when we talk about corporate funding, we're not talking about band programs or climbing walls or recreational things. What the Senate School Board is suggesting is long-term corporate funding built in to the core programs. So corporations would pick up a portion of the annual budget. That's what you're talking about.
Yes, that's what we're talking about, Judy, because we do not want any less funding from the government,
right,
nor should the corporations subsidize what the government's giving us.
Right. So you don't want to change what you want to make is the pool bigger.
Right.
And you want to pad it with
because
corporate
people
money.
don't realize the government has not funded percentage increase in fees, legal fees, and other fees that we must pay to operate the school district. They give us the basic funding. So therefore, the percentage increase between the government funding and our spending has increased.
Right. And so that would be the part picked up. So people need to know that. So if you're calling in saying, I want to sponsor a band program, that's great. That's actually a little bit off what they're talking about tonight. But let's talk to Terry now in Victoria. Hi, Terry.
Hi.
Hi, go ahead.
Why do we pay taxes? Obviously, the government's not spending their money properly.
Right.
And corporations shouldn't have to flip the bill.
Right.
They're there to teach the children reading, writing, and arithmetic, and now they're taking librarians away, and it's just defeating the purpose.
Okay, well, thanks for that. And, corporations have always been around to help out community businesses, to help out. In this case, have you gone to the government first? I mean, we've seen protests, but have you really been knocking on the door really hard?
Yes, Andrew Petter, MLA and Finance Minister, is Saanich South in our school district.
Is he coming to your meeting tonight? He's your MLA, isn't he?
He was invited. I'm not aware if he's coming. I believe he's not coming, but
there are invitations
out there. But there again, we have met, Jack and I, and along with other board members have met with Andrew. He's very receptive. He listens. We give him the information. He understands, but there's so much money, but he still states that education is a priority for the provincial government.
And he's your MLA and the Minister of Finance. So you think he's receptive, but it's not changing things.
It's not changing things. We just wait for the next budget, see how much money we get
Which
to offer.
they're writing right now. So hopefully they're hearing some of this. Let's talk to Michael now in Vancouver. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
Hi, go ahead.
I've got a question. There's a very well-established private sector industry, and it's known as the energy service company industry in the province of British Columbia. It's also very strong nationally and supported by National Resources Canada and so forth on a federal level. 2 school districts, to the best of my knowledge, out of the nearly 100 in British Columbia have taken advantage of the services provided by this private sector to the extent that an energy service company would go to a school district, pay for and finance retrofits and so forth to I'm just wondering, why has there been no provincial initiative to the school districts at large to take advantage of this? Because savings in the area of $250,000 to $1 million a year
Per district?
are available.
Is that per district?
No, it depends on the size of the school district. Vancouver would be.
Okay. Do you know what he's referring to?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that call.
Yes, we do know that, and we've been certainly looking at it.
What is he talking about? He's talking about changing
He's talking about
the heating system
working
or
in a
something?
partnership with an energy providing company or an energy consulting company to find ways to better use our utilities, particularly
Something like BC Hydro or
exactly.
something.
And so, you know, we all acknowledge that we're not fully up to date with that. Some of our schools are old and hard to retrofit. Others, we have very few building projects going on in our particular school district, so it's not an easy, we don't have an easy opportunity to do what he's saying.
And did the provincial government try to, you know, enhance your opportunities here?
They encourage it, but it does not come up high on their priority list. Every year we submit a request for some capital funding to enable us to do some of that retrofitting. It inevitably falls off the bottom of the list when...
Does retrofitting just mean replacing stuff?
It's more complex than that.
Okay,
It involves installing computer-driven controls, for example, for heating systems and lights and lots of things that I don't know much about technically, Judy, but yeah, we're certainly not ignoring that opportunity to try and reduce our costs.
Okay, we're going to show people a little bit of an information package on the education system and school boards in particular. You should be aware that cash-strapped school boards face difficult choices. Their goals are to reduce spending, find other sources of revenue, or both, without deficit spending. The Saanich School District is looking at two options beyond the status quo. There could be limited and controlled corporate sponsorships. These would be low visibility in the schools, and the sponsors would be directed to not seek to develop future customers among the students. The other option is extensive sponsorship. These would be high visibility. Sponsors would be able to display their logos in the schools, provide promotional materials, and display their corporate identifications in the schools to a great degree. And I think I'm just going to very quickly mention to you that the BC Teachers Federation newsletter came out with an essay on this. It was written by Wayne Turner. You can find it on the internet if you look up the BC Teachers Federation website. And in it he says that in other jurisdictions, corporate funding may come with highly attached strings. Sometimes that happens. Including in Canada, a major manufacturer of computers has made free hardware available to schools on the condition that the corporation's information technology curriculum be adopted. And a CD-ROM was developed recently jointly by SFU and a corporate sponsor. The topic was Prime Ministers of Canada, and when they asked who had the final say in terms of interpretation and presentation of that, it was the corporate sponsor. And the CEO of Prism Communications has said, with respect to education funding by corporations, they aren't so much children as what I like to call evolving consumers. And lastly, Lehman Brothers, a U.S. investment house, produces a major report to its clients and cites the privatization of education as the next hot investment opportunity. So that's the slippery slope, I guess, that you may be embarking on, depending on what the public wants.
Well, I want to say, Judy, we're already dealing with some of those issues. We already get almost daily packages of information and materials provided by one agency or another, or one corporation or another, and we're always cautious that we vet those things to ensure that there's at least some objectivity, for example, when issues are presented to that kind of material. So it's not an issue that we're not dealing with already.
Okay. And Derek, as an elected member, I mean, you've been school board chair, this is your third term, isn't it?
It's my third term.
What about during the election campaign? Do you find that you're approached by people who say, you know, we need to go in this direction?
No, the last campaign, people were saying we should lobby the government more, but the idea of corporate sponsorship never appeared. Although in our district, parent groups raise more money for the schools than the district is able to allot to the schools.
Wow.
And people don't realize that.
So it really depends on the involvement of the parents.
Right.
Okay. We're going to let you know how you can contact the Saanich School District if you'd like to. There's School District 63 at 2125 Keating Crossroad, Saanachton, BC, V8M2A5. The phone number is 250-652-7300. The fax number is 250-652-7360, and the email with respect to tonight's forum is Jean _Chiriani, and it's CIRIANI at sd63.bc.ca. Now tonight's forum is pretty well at capacity.
Yes, it is, Judy. It's at capacity, but people can give us their viewpoints on this, the more we get, the more comfortable the board feels in enacting any program or going to any partnership.
Okay.
Because
and if they show up tonight, they'll be showing up to, what is it, Parkland Elementary?
Yeah, Parkland Elementary.
Parkland Secondary.
Right, yes.
Okay, and that's at about 5 o'clock. But there's a wrap-up at 7 that people could drop in on if they wanted to.
Yeah, I think, Judy, that, you know, if as long as we're not overwhelmed, but we can manage a fair number of drop-ins, and they may find themselves in dialogue with me in a corner about this issue. We'd be pleased to have their involvement.
Okay.
And we'd be the board isn't going to act only on the results of this forum. Obviously, it wants to be guided by community opinion, but it also has a lot of policy issues to concern itself with.
And you have a budget.
And a budget, and a relationship with parents and schools and so on. So it's a complex issue, so there'll be time for people to react later if they want to drop us a line.
Okay. We have to take a break. We'll be back with more of your calls on corporate funding in public education.
His hair was cut short? Yes, half an inch. His nose, was it more Roman or Grecian? Actually, it was turned up, and it definitely been broken. And his eyes? Jade green, wide apart, and the look. I got it. Mr. Jones, is this the man that robbed you? Oh, Sorry, you know I'm not this, but you can't draw. What?
Well, next time, think yellow first.
Tyfty.
Vancouver Island home food.
Hunt's tomatoes. The taste is good. It is convenient. Yes, I've used them for many years. Hunt is just terrific.
Astro yogurt, I find it extremely healthy. I eat about 2 of these every day. Astro, I find, is probably the best yogurt. This is the one that I only buy.
Vancouver Island's homegrown food store.
Pretty foods, the smiles in the bag for you.
Introducing the first ever daily protein remover for soft contact lenses. Optifree Super Cleanse. It keeps your lenses like new longer. Call and try it. Free.
Hello? Reality check. A free sample? Free is good if the product is great. So what would be great is some cold hard facts, right?
Fact. People who use Super Cleanse every day for 6 months said their soft contact lenses felt as comfortable as a pair less than a week old.
Contacts I start wearing in winter can feel as comfortable as new come summer. This has got to be hard work.
Super Cleanse is easy. Just put 1 drop in your lens case overnight with Optifree Multi-Action Solution. It's unbelievably simple.
Just 1 drop while I sleep? I'm dreaming. The free sample. Please tell me it's not a one-time shot. Please tell me it cries out, try me, for a whole month.
Okay. We'll give you a 30-day supply free.
Sold.
Call now for your 1-month supply of Optifree Super Cleanse, or buy some wherever lens care products are sold. Try it, feel it, believe it.
And our question of the day, do you favor corporate involvement in our schools? And here are some comments.
I agree wholeheartedly with the corporate sponsorship. Anything to help the school kids and their education and their sports.
I think whatever it's going to take in order to get the schools funded properly and the education for the children, I think so.
I feel that depends on who the corporation is. I think some things they could help out with.
The government should pay it, not the corporate, because they might influence things in the wrong way, and that's no good.
We're being ruled by big business now, as it is, and the May Treaty is going to make this terrible. So maybe we should keep the corporations out of the schoolrooms. They're in our government as far as ruling us, so we've got enough of big corporations.
Myself, I think it's, a great idea, because if the taxpayers are having troubles paying it, then, why not big corporations that have lots of money and can afford it get involved in it? I think it's a great idea.
Well, I believe that in the school systems today, the public school systems today, I believe that they definitely need help in sponsorship. There's not enough funding for the schools today, whether it's public elementary or high school. And the more we sponsor, I think the better it will be for our children.
Pretty well unanimous, as for the public seem to have a pretty good idea that you guys are in a tough position financially.
When I became a trustee back in 1990, I firmly believe in a public education system, publicly funded, publicly administered.
Right.
But into my third term, knowing what I know about the Saanich School District, the state of our financial affairs, having worked with the provincial government, the Ministry of Education, it's come to the point now, enough is enough.
Right.
We have to look at alternative sources of funding. Unless the government comes forward and say, yes, we have money elsewhere you can have, because we can justify why we need the money similar to other districts.
Right.
So I say enough is enough. People are reacting to it. The students are protesting. When you have that degree of acknowledgement of a problem, the government can't overlook that.
Okay. Let's talk to Gilles in Victoria. Hi, Gilles.
Well, hi, Judy. Nice speaking with you. My main concern is special interest groups. I saw something in the paper the other day, not in the paper, but in a magazine. It was a full-page ad by Amway Corporation. It had something to do with Junior Achievement Awards, and it scared the heck out of me because of the possibility. And let's face it, Amway is American Way, and I thought it kind of odd.
Okay, well, let's get some comments on that. Any response?
Not specifically.
No, you don't have to be specific. I'm just talking about in general, yeah.
Well, I think, Judy, that in response to the people on the street who seem to feel, the ones you interviewed, that this was okay, that there's a great concern amongst parents that schools might be used as a vehicle to make consumers, I think the phrase you used, future consumers out of their kids. I think they're very concerned about the influence of television, of media, of corporate sponsorship.
That's already there.
That's already existing and surrounding them and their families. I can't speak for all of the parents, but I've spoken to some of the parents who say, you know, this is really a sad day if we have to go down this route and increase this problem in our family or with me and my children. So
well, it seems to
we haven't heard too many parents yet. I think our parents tonight will probably give us that view.
Okay, it'll be interesting to hear what they have to say tonight. I know that there's a debate internally in the what you call the education sector. The BC Teachers Federation, as I referred to earlier, came out with some pretty strong comments on corporate funding, and they've also come out with some recommended guidelines, which we can take to tonight's meeting for discussion. The BC Teachers Federation is quite concerned and offered these guidelines. First, corporate involvement must meet education needs, not commercial motives, and there must be ethical standards agreed to by all parties in advance. The Teachers Federation says any educational materials provided by sponsors must be screened and evaluated to see if the content is biased, and students must never be forced to read or listen to advertising. Sponsorship agreements must be written out and open to the public to read. And finally, teacher and student participation in sponsor-driven programs should be purely voluntary. And obviously, those are all things that I'm sure will come up tonight.
Yes, they're good guidelines, and our board, even though we do not have corporate sponsorship now, we have an educational directions committee, and when we go over curriculum, we do look at the content of the curriculum to make sure that you mentioned it's not biased, and that it meets the needs of the students and the district and what we're teaching.
Okay, well, let's hope we continue to have those kinds of ethics exercise. That's the other thing. Okay, let's talk to Linda now. I think you're in Victoria, aren't you, Linda?
Vancouver.
You're in Vancouver. Yeah. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Go ahead.
Well, I have to say I agree with you on this issue, Judy. The problem that I see developing is that we have no way to guarantee equal access to corporate funding to all schools, to all districts. And how do we prevent a have and have-not system developing here with funding going to high-profile districts and high-profile schools,
right?
And poorer districts being left out of this.
Right.
If there's some way we can guarantee a pot that is to be divided equally, then this can be dealt with. But I really think the slippery slope is slipperier than most people would like to believe. It sounds easy at first, but I think this is just deadly. To get into this.
Well, thank you. I think you've raised an excellent point. It was one that one of the parents brought up last week.
But corporate sponsorship at the district level would mean more of a level playing field. Right now, we have, in our school district in Saanich, we have and have-not schools. By that, I mean that there are parent groups that are very active in fundraising. They go to casinos, they go to bingos, where other parent groups are not that active, or morally they do not believe in going to the bingo parlors or the casinos to raise money for educational needs at their school. But when we receive funds, if we do receive funds at a district level, then we can distribute them equally, where now there are two-tier system within our own schools.
But what about East Vancouver? I mean, there's some districts that will just be poor.
Well, Judy, the real answer there is the obvious one, that government should tax and redistribute in a fair way.
That's why a government's supposed to be there.
You know, and if that was happening, as I think I said earlier, then this would not be as significant an issue as it's become in our district.
Okay, we are going to take a 2-minute break. We'll be back with more of your calls, so please stay on the line.
When you need to stop a cough, get fast-acting, long-lasting relief with Vicks Formula 44. One dose coats your cough-irritated throat to start soothing in 5 minutes and can last through the night. For fast-acting, long-lasting relief, get Vicks Formula 44.
Hi, babe. I had to change your plans. I got a ticket to the game tonight. Make it up to you. I love you.
The magic of Max Factor.
Sorry, I don't know what came over me.
That's the Max Factor.
Honey?
Honey, check the map.
Who needs a map?
Blaze new trails. Enter the Get Out and Go contest. You could win a grand prize pack including 2 Jeep mountain bikes, Coleman camping equipment, and a Jeep Cherokee Sport to carry it all in. To enter, look for this display in participating stores carrying these products.
Dad, can Mom drive?
When should you plant geranium cuttings? What's the only time of year to safely move peonies? How long can live Christmas trees remain indoors? Get answers to these and other questions by ordering the Get Up and Grow Gardening Guide and Calendar for 1998. Gord Nickel, host of the Get Up and Grow TV show, has compiled over 360 useful tips to help novices and green thumbs alike succeed in the garden. All of this timely information has been combined with rich botanical illustrations to give you an invaluable resource.
Hi, I'm Gord Nickel, host of Get Up and Grow, seen every Saturday morning on Check TV. Order the Get Up and Grow Gardening Guide and Calendar now, and you'll receive a Forget-Me-Not seed package at no extra cost.
To order your gardening guide and calendar, send $12.99 plus $2 shipping and handling to the address on your screen, or call 1-888-456-5577 and have your credit card handy. The guide is also available at Canner Nursery in Victoria, Abbotsford, and Chilliwack. Call now and get growing in 1998.
Oh, now my mic's on. And I'm in the middle of a rant. Anyway, we'll go back to the phones. Let's talk to John in North Vancouver. Hi, John.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm pretty good. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, well, first of all, I'm in favor of corporate sponsorship in our school system.
Okay.
And I just want to know, I mean, I had a coffee and 2 donuts today for breakfast. And what's it going to be like for our kids when Coca-Cola and McDonald's is sponsoring our school system, right?
Right.
And let's not forget that old lawnmower I've got rusting in my backyard, right? If it can't work, I can't cut the grass.
Okay, I'm not sure about the lawnmower analogy. I do think the point about McDonald's in the schools is interesting. Many schools have hot lunch programs. There are cafeterias. I'm sure that a major chain would like nothing more than to be able to get in there and to be an active participant in the school system. But nutrition may not be a first priority for a corporation coming to the schools.
Well, that's true, Judy. These are some of the things we need to talk about. We're not just asking whether corporate sponsorship's a good idea or not. We're also going to be talking about what conditions would apply. And in some of your comments on the BCTF and some of your callers, these are really serious issues. So that's why developing a policy in this area is a complex thing, and why we want to make sure we're well informed.
It should be an interesting evening, I'm sure. Okay, Tammy from Victoria. Hi.
Hi, Judy. I have some really serious concerns about corporations becoming involved in schools. My feeling is that once that funding gets entrenched in the school system, once they get used to it, the corporations, even if there are things in place so that they're not supposed to be developing future consumers,
right,
I think that they can do that by selectively funding. For example, a corporation that's majorly funding a school can decide they're only going to fund, say, computer programs, for example, and not the arts. And
directing the funding to
directing the funding, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay, well, thanks for that. During the break, I'd mentioned to you that one concern I have is very few people vote in school board elections, municipal elections. It's so easy to go in if you were a corporation and you wanted to get your people on the board. It would be so easy to buy a campaign. And that's part of what I worry about with the slippery slope.
Right. You have that in both the provincial and federal governments right now, accusations of corporations supporting certain candidates. But I think it's up to the electorate, up to the integrity of the person running. That's a point well brought up, and something that at this point I haven't considered.
Right. Because I mentioned to you, I mean, to get elected, usually in school boards, you don't even have to spend $2,000.
No.
And a $10,000 ad campaign can affect the public unbelievably. Anyway, let's talk to Stephen now in Nanaimo. Hi, Stephen.
Well, thank you for the program, Judy.
You're welcome.
Judy, I want to go right around 180 degrees on this. We're discussing the old status quo, the same old subject all the time, just where do we put the Band-Aid on?
Okay.
Mr. Manning has come out with an idea where university students should get their education free, and they should pay for it after they graduate. Now, why not advance that back to the primary school system, where we charge every student a fee for every day they're in school, and whether some students need extra curriculum like ESL, the student is charged for it, and but the whole system would have to be changed, in as much as we'd have to have these children that are leaving grade 10, grade 11, grade 12 have skills like carpenter's tickets, electrician's tickets, computer tickets, and because they're all going to go to work. Eventually, they're all going to go to work, and let them pay their education bill after they start work. And this also avoids the school taxes. We don't have to pay school taxes anymore.
So we'll
and
take
the
it
other
off
point
our-
I would like to make, if I might quickly,
Okay.
is that I'm totally amazed, being a 70-year-old veteran and a resident out here in British Columbia all these years,
Yeah.
that the school system across Canada, let alone British Columbia, has not mandated that they teach all grade 1 students in the curriculum music, how to read music. That's all they got to do is treat how to read music. They don't have to give them a piano or a guitar, because if the children all learned how to read music, you can imagine how it would advance their artistic values as they go on into the upper grades, and it would certainly calm down, I think, the children's society and take a lot of them off the 7-Eleven street corners.
Okay, well, thank you. That's a very long comment, and certainly that last comment about music, I've always wondered why we don't have that aspect of literacy. But are you familiar with the proposal to have post-secondary education free? And then
Yes.
I actually thought it came out of Mike Harris's finance minister. I didn't
Well,
realize
it's not the first time it's been talked about, Judy. He's right in saying it would stand the whole system on its ear. One of the fundamental premises behind public education is that the system is of value to society generally. That we help produce the people that everybody needs, the doctors, the lawyers, and well, lawyers not.
We'll leave that for another day.
lawyers, but doctors and other kinds of skilled trade people, the ones that he mentioned that our society requires.
Okay.
And therefore, because it is a general public benefit,
Right.
then the public should be prepared to provide support for it through taxation.
Okay.
What he's talking about is a very individualistic, different kind of system entirely.
Civil libertarian system. Okay, we have to take a break, and we'll be back with more of your calls, and then I'm going to ask you guys why the education sector doesn't come together. We'll be right back.
Just one taste at country style.
It's a great day.
How about some coffee and hot chocolate to warm you up?
It's Country Style's Just One Taste to Winter Fun Contest.
Wow!
Collect to win a Toshiba home theater or Napoleon wood stove or drive away in a Honda CR-V. Just turn up the lip on a Country Style game cup to win instant prizes and much, much more.
It's a great day.
Until now, the problem with wireless phones barely give up the battery. Thanks to BC. becomes amazingly clear. The Digital PCS Network. Be free. BC Tel Mobility.
You'll be pleased to learn that at Van City, the convenience of having complete ATM access to your money has multiplied. In fact, we now have over 500 of the blooming things. But the real beauty is that with us, there's no surcharge for using any one of them. For information and locations, call us today. Van City, it's right here.
Real quickly, I've got something to show you. BioGuard Pool and Spa Chemicals. By the way, I'm Grant, and I own Vintage Hot Tubs. If you're looking for built to last, the guaranteed lowest running cost, and the ultimate in hydrotherapy performance, come visit our showroom at 2000 Government Street. We've all been in business 20 years. Besides saunas and gazebos, we've got portable Paradise Breeze rooms, custom-built retractable sunrooms. Isn't that great? And we also design and build sun decks. One more thing, we've got private test soak rooms that'll make you feel like gold. Oh, there's my wife.
And we're talking about corporate funding, and I just want to ask you this question. It seems to me that if the school districts and the BC Teachers Association and the principals and vice principals and the parents, all the district parents advisory committees and the students took to the streets and said education is a basic right. We pay our taxes. We want that money put toward education, that you'd have to get a response from the government.
Oh yes, you're already getting a response when students go to the legislature, when student parents met, but it's fragmented. Right. Each district is doing their own thing. And you're right, if the whole province, all the parents, all the educators get involved and send a clear message to the government, and this is about time to do it now.
Yeah, it's terrible to even think of that you might go to that point, but it sounds pretty serious. Let's talk to Esther in White Rock. Hi, Esther.
Oh, hi, Judy. I really enjoy your program. We listen often. I just would like to suggest that this government is a corporation in itself, and so is the teachers' union, and they take thousands of our tax dollars, and it's already being apportioned out in a biased way, and I would question the unbiased and the ethicalness of the teachers' union when they'll take thousands of dollars to do a court case on what they are with Surrey. And where does the $6,000 or $7,000 a year that they pay for children in the public school go to when my children homeschool, and then if they want help getting one course through a education center in their locale, they're charged $300 for one course when they are a high school student that's not 19.
Okay, that's a long comment on that. I guess she's saying that there's agendas being played out in the public arena as well.
Perhaps there are agendas played out, but the bottom line is that when the caller said that the government's a corporation, perhaps they are.
But we can deselect
what we have to do is question where educational taxes go.
Right.
How are they collected? They're collected by the municipalities, funded to the government. The board has no control over taxation anymore.
But you have full responsibility for
yes, to carry out the programs.
Right. Okay, let's talk to Linda in Victoria. Hi, Linda.
Yes, hello, Judy.
Hi.
I wanted to say that I am opposed to corporate sponsorship in the schools, but primarily because it doesn't address the real issue, which I feel is driving us to look at corporate sponsorship.
Right.
And that is the management of funds by the Ministry of Education. And I think Mr. Fleming said it very well, that 95% goes to salaries, wages, and benefits. So there is money there, but is it realistic that we can afford such expensive salaries? And is this really why we need corporate sponsorships in the end?
Okay, and that's an important point to raise. People do say that some of the salaries are too high.
Well, there's no question, Judy, it's certainly an issue. Salaries and benefits are our biggest concern. All I can say is the government has put in place a very large-scale mechanism that bargains on behalf of all school districts of the province. They've worked with very firm guidelines on salaries. Salaries in general in this province have gone up very, very little. You know, we're talking 1% and 0.5%, this kind of increase. Those at higher levels have had their wages frozen now since 1992, I believe. So the government's moving on that, but the problem we have is so we have a fixed salary level, but now with reducing ability to spend, we've got to reduce the number of people that we pay, and that's what leads to reductions in custodians and librarians and so on. So even hold the line on salaries causes us a problem right now.
Okay, let's take a last call from Patty in Courtney. Hi, Patty.
Hi, I'm a teacher in Campbell River School District, and I have two levels of concern. The first one you sort of talked about earlier in terms of inequality between districts. I'm sure that there's a difference between the number of corporate sponsors available in Greater Vancouver versus Campbell River, where I am, or Fort St. James, or Caslow, something like that. And my second level of concern would be that once corporate sponsorship took hold, that the government would see this money coming into the system and would use it as an excuse to pull back even further and make the differences between the have and have-not districts even greater by saying, okay, you're getting the money from somewhere else now, we don't have to provide it anymore.
Okay, thanks for that. That happened, of course, with lottery funding. It was supposed to be to enhance health care. Now it's basic funding.
I think the government should be part of the negotiation. If we do look at corporate sponsorship, we want the government to be part of it. Ask them the question, will you cut back funding, and perhaps get their input into it.
Okay, we are out of time, but thank you both very much, and I'll be seeing you later today.
Yes, thank you, Judy.
And if you'd like to contact us, this is how you can do it. You can write to Tyabji at 780 Kings Road, Victoria, BC, V8T 5A2. Fax us at 250-389-1226. Email is tyabji@wic.ca, and our internet website with information from this and other shows is www.checktv.com. And we'll be right back.
Until now, the problem with wireless phones did not clearly get above the background. Thanks to remove the background, and it all becomes amazingly clear. The digital PCS network. Be free. BC Tel Mobility.
Powder, sunshine, relaxation.
Silver Star Mountain and WestJet are making it easier to take off.
Fasten your seatbelt. Here's the deal.
2 days skiing, 2 nights ski to your door accommodation, ground transportation, and return airfare on WestJet Airlines, all for one incredible price.
Just $229.
$249 from the island.
That's a deal. Fly and ski on the same day.
Call today for your escape to Silver Star Mountain Resort.
Now it's even closer than you think.
Imagine lacing up for the big one, putting on your game jersey, and stepping out onto the ice at GM Place.
Now you can with Skate for Hope, a 12-hour team relay, Sunday, February the 8th at GM Place.
Enjoy a great day of skating with loads of fun to raise funds for Giant Steps and the Canuck Foundation. Call to register or make a $25 donation and help needy kids across the Lower Mainland. So sharpen your skates and draft your team.
You never know who you might bump into on the ice at GM Place.
The Make-A-Wish Foundation of Canada makes wishes come true for children with life-threatening illnesses. Tara's wish was that her dog Boomer appear in a national television commercial. WIC is a corporate parent to this and 20 other television and radio stations across Canada. We support the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Like you, we care about this community. So anyway, this is Boomer, and this is Tara, and this is a wish come true.
And coming up tomorrow, we're talking about family service cutbacks, and then we're looking at the BCMA controversy with doctors. And guess who's coming to visit? Finance Minister Andrew Petter is going to be joining us next week. And so if I don't see him tonight, I might mention a few things to him when he's here next week. And if you would like to participate in tomorrow's questions and you don't think you can get through by phone or you're a little shy, you can fax us comments to 250-389-1226 or questions. That's on family service cutbacks, and that has to do with reducing the services available to people who are currently in care, and the government's restructuring it. And so we'll be sharing that with you tomorrow. Today we talked about whether or not there should be corporate funding in education, and as mentioned, there is a forum tonight for the public to participate. And I'm very interested to see whether it'll be the basic pragmatics or whether people will say it's the government's responsibility and that's why we pay taxes. And perhaps, as one caller suggested, we're just chasing our tail and we need to rebuild the system from scratch. Either way, this debate will continue. As we said, education will be our theme this spring. I'm Judy Tyabji. We'll see you tomorrow.
It's